WHPR-TV is expanding its reach to 33 more cities on Comcast 90, Western Oakland and Livingston counties. Check out your favorite TV shows on Comcast in Southfield, Bloomfield Hills, Bloomfield, Genoa Township, Oak Park, Birmingham, Hamtramck, Brighton, Roseville, Brighton Township, Hazel Park, West Bloomfield, Royal Oak Township, and others. Don't have Comcast? Find us on Roku. Go to WHPR-TV-DetroitLive.com.
Have you ever wanted your own TV show? Have you dreamed of showcasing your talent for the world to see? Well, now you can. Have your own TV show. For only $99, you can have your own 30-minute show. Not only will you be seen in the Detroit area, but you can be viewed worldwide. Be seen on WHPR Detroit Live, Comcast Cable Channel 91, on the web at TV33WHPR.com, with the TV33 app, on Roku, Google TV, Apple TV, and on Amazon Fire TV. Act now. Time slots are limited. Sign up today and get a free replay with the purchase of your time slot. For more information, call 313-868-6612. Visit our studios and receive a free TV interview to promote your business, church, or organization by appointment only.
Morning to you, this amazing new morning. Happy Thursday to you. It's a pleasure to be with you this morning on Coffee and Conversation. I'm so proud and pleased and honored to be your hostess for this hour of power from 7 to 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. My name is Collette Ramsey, and you are now tuned in to us, either WHPR TV 33, Comcast, Roku, streaming live, smoke signals, whatever you use to get here with us this morning. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be able to start the day with you. We always talk about that on this program, we're going to have the 3 E's. We're going to be educated, we're going to be enlightened, and we're going to be empowered. There's more than one way to have a conversation. So remember, whatever it is I say, that is just what I say. It doesn't mean that's what they say. Right? There's a book, Noam Chomsky is what they say. Shout out to my parents, shout out Dad. That's one of our favorite books this morning. So I want us to have a conversation. Remember, we don't always have to agree. But in us conversing and addressing what the issues are, we can come to viable solutions. That is really what a conversation is. So I want to make sure you're prepared so you can call in and we can talk. Before I delve into the topic for today, the number is 313-868-0342 or 313-868-0351 or 313-868-4336. And callers, I see you already calling in, so thankful for that. And we'll get to you momentarily. But it's got to give, the backstory, because everything has a backstory, right? So, literally I started off with saying this is Hot Topic Thursday because so much has been happening in the news, and I know that you are really reeling around what has been happening in this nation, all right? International crisis. So we're familiar with what is happening at home. We have our Baton Rouge situation. We have our Dallas situation. Not only do we have the killing of individuals, then we have the killing of police officers. Now, that's kind of a nuance. We're not used to that. And so America has been taking steps to address that this week, and I want, of course, to hear from you on that. We're going to talk about what it has looked like, of course, in France. Power. Someone's ability to effectuate change on someone unknowingly. We're not saying that that's good or not, but we're familiar with the travesty that has happened. And we're going to give several examples today of what it looks like. And so the underlying theme for our Hot Topic Thursday is power. I want you to think about that. I want you to think about power. And all the examples that we're going to give, are they components of power? Either one's desire to be empowered, one's desire to be powerful. Let me give you the definition of power. So power is defined, quote, as the ability to do something or act in a particular way, capacity to direct or influence the behavior of others or the course of events. Control. So, a lot of us, there's a misperception of power. There's a lack of power. There's abuse of power. Misconception of power. I want to know where you fall, and I want to know what you think about the events that have happened this week. We're going to talk about the Republican National Convention. I want to know, when we sit and talk about power, we know that Mrs. Trump, Melania Trump, gave her speech. You know, she was the supposedly, potentially, first lady coming in and gave this roaring speech to the delegates that happened to look a lot like the speech that First Lady Michelle Obama gave. I know you followed it because it has been everywhere. And so much so that people were in awe. They said that she captured the room with her dialogue and her conversation. But did they realize that the conversation that they were applauding and buying into and really engaging in was a conversation from the Democratic National Convention, as words that were given by our own First Lady, Michelle Obama? So think about what that looks like for us in America. And then subsequently, we've heard media and everyone really on the onset said, oh, well, no, that's not happening. No, we didn't take any words from anyone. That's not what happened. And so much so that there was an interview, and I saw it on TV in preparation for her speaking. Mrs. Trump was asked, did you get any assistance with your speech? And she blatantly said, no, I wrote it on my own. I saw that with my own two eyes. I want to know, do you have a problem with that? Is the idea that they are in an influential position and that they can say whatever they want to Americans and that we will agree? And maybe the issue is really who says it. So do we have a problem with that? Just because they said, oh, it's no big deal, no snafu. Oh, it's okay because that's kind of what everyone believes, but that's called plagiarism. But do we believe, or do they believe, that they have the power of being an independent entity and that the influence, because perhaps, and I'm putting it out there because that's just what I do in our conversation, that because of her color, it wasn't a problem? Can you imagine if First Lady Michelle Obama, in presenting her speech, quoted specific terms and phrases from a speech that perhaps Nancy Reagan gave? Do you think it would have been rushed up under the rug so quickly? But is it a position of who's in power or who has the power that we kind of shrug it off? It's okay. So this is going to be one of the topics, of course, what you thought. I want to know what you think about these things. I want to know what you think about now Donald Trump being the official candidate for the Republican Party, and that the actually Colorado delegation walked out of the convention because they were not heard. They didn't have the opportunity to be heard in their protest for his candidacy. Do you look at and assess the dissension that is happening in the Republican Party in and of itself problemsome? Because I believe that if you have internal dissension, then how can you collectively create a voice then that's going to hopefully support a candidate that's going to represent America? Do you think about that? Do you have a problem with that? We're going to talk about that. I'm going down the list because I had a lot of stuff I'm going to put out there, and then I want to hear from you. So I need to understand, when Donald Trump talks about making America great again, do you believe that his candidacy in and of itself is the vision of greatness in America? I was thinking about that when I looked through the audience and saw the types of individuals that were just cheering for him. And all due respect, they didn't look like affluent individuals. Truth be told, I thought I was looking at some individuals out of the 80s and 90s. with the attire, with the hair, with those things. And so I said that, wow, when you look at the audience and then you juxtapose that to the stage, the Trumps looked like royalty. They looked like power and influence and money and prestige. And so is that the whole idea of who America is anyway? To be aspirational. People who have come here to say, you know what? I want the dream. I want to be able to work hard and pull myself up by the bootstraps and to be able to amass wealth and to either, whether it's corporate or whether it's as an entrepreneur, and that's what America can give me. So are the individuals that are supporting Trump not necessarily looking at him as a candidate based off of his views, but his successes in America? Now, of course, there's a different conversation when you say, okay, well, he's come from wealth, he's come from power, he's come from influence. That does not hurt when you have that as a start, because the majority of us are first generation. That means first generation going to college, first generation having careers, corporate employment, the likes of those things. We're first generation. And so maybe that's what people buy into. I don't know. I got to hear from you. And then we're going to talk about, and I got to power, the ambush of the police officers. Do you think that we are in a state of America where we're just crying out and that we need something to show that we believe we have power? So we're going to use ourselves as a sacrifice to show power, to show some type of control over our environment when we seem to be in a nomadic state? So much so, I need to know if you are familiar that there is a group now of Black pastors who are blasting Black Lives Matter. Did you hear about that? African Globe did a article, story on them, and it's a group of pastors who are identifying that Black Lives Matter is demonic, that everything that it stands for is a separation, and the truth is that we should not be placing blame on our conditions as Blacks in America on the system, but we should look within. And that the bigger challenge that we've had is because we haven't adhered to our morals and standards. And they specifically talk about 3 items. A, that if we are educated, if we, B, withhold from having children until we're married, and then, of course, that we get married, that those 3 components will change the dynamic of the culture and lifestyle of Black people in America. And since we have swayed away from that ideology, and that's not what we implement anymore, then that's why we're having the problems that we have, and that we are blaming everyone else. What do you think about that? Is that a position? I mean, would you think that African Americans would come on out and say that? Do you have a problem with it? Do you agree? And then I want us to talk about, I'm going to put it out there, the comedian and actress Leslie Jones. She is on Saturday Night Live. She has been cast in the new blockbuster hit Ghostbusters, and she got horrific tweets on Twitter comparing her to a gorilla. I saw the tweets. It was horrific. And so initially, Twitter stated that they couldn't do anything about it. Freedom of speech. Really? Twitter? So that's the assertion that right now we can say anything we want about individuals in America. Is it a usurp of power because she happens to be a woman, an African American woman? And so that's okay. Would that same thing be happening if she happened to be Caucasian? You didn't necessarily hear the likes of those things, perhaps when Bruce Jenner became Kylie Jenner. I just want to know what you think about it. Do we understand power? Are we clear about what power looks like? And from a political position, let me let you know that a lot of you have been following voter ID laws. And of course, there was an appeal in Texas for voter ID, and it was struck down out of Texas. And I think that makes a statement because, of course, people have a different perception for Texas, but the Federal Appeals Court struck down Texas' tough voter identification law as discriminatory. Now, this just happened yesterday, giving civil rights advocates a crucial victory in advance of the 2016 election. So we're going to talk about that. So those are some of the things. I mean, they're hot topics, but I want us to address and think about the underlying effort, or the underlying, I believe, position of power. And so, do we believe in America that those who have power, of course, change the course of others' lives, power and influence? And then I'm going to give you an article about some black Republicans that are now speaking out about the convention, and then why they support Donald Trump. And in essence, they support Donald Trump because their position is that Democrats have done no better. The Democrats don't have a plan. What do you think? Do you think that there's just a lost cause? I saw a sign and I posted it. You can follow me on social media if you like. It's Collette Ramsey on Facebook. And there I posted a sign that said, it all stinks. There was another word, but it all stinks for the 2016 candidates. Because in theory, there is no viable candidate that represents really what people are talking about or what people need, or it's a lesser of two evils. What do you think about that? And so then I'm just going to put one more thing out here, and then I'm going to go to the phone lines because I see you guys. U.S. Muslims plan to address Donald Trump. So there's been a massive movement of U.S. Muslims for voter registration so that they can exercise their voice and power to counter Donald Trump as a candidate. So much so that they have registered 600,000 U.S. Muslims to vote. Do you think that that's a huge accomplishment? Do you think that it's an irony that a group can get together and collectively say, we're going to exert our power through our voice and vote? And this is how we're going to do it. We're not going to sit and fight with you. We're not going to argue with you. We're not going to protest to that extreme with you. We're just going to wait until we get into the ballot box and cast who we want. So that's a use of power. And so the last, I'm going to give a quote. I love quotes, and I think that this one is really fitting. And this is from our 16th United States president, which says, nearly all men can stand adversity, but if you want to test a man's character, give him power. One more time, nearly all men can stand adversity, but if you want to test a man's character, give him power. And that's none other than Abraham Lincoln. So now it's with you. It's on you. It's us together, me and you, ready for the conversation. I'm going to go to the line. Thank you so much for your patience. Great morning to you.
How you doing today?
Amazing. How are you?
All right. First, I'd like to give a shout-out to TV33, RJ Watkins,
Sure.
JB Hill,
Yeah.
Miss Collette,
Thank you.
all the other show hosts for TV33. Great outfit, great hairdo.
Thank you. You're so
great
kind.
topics for today.
Thank you.
Great blessed day for everybody.
Absolutely.
By you bringing up power, I could elaborate on maybe 8 things that you said.
Okay.
But one of the things that I would like to mention that you brought as far as these police officers that's getting shot
Yes.
in the hoods. But since Trayvon Martin, we've had a lot of people that look like me that have been killed.
Okay.
None of them been convicted. So it's a power change or power shift that's going on the TV, but behind the TV ain't nothing changed. The great example is when you bring up a female that performs in the movie for the Ghostbusters.
Yes.
If you look at her commercial, she's paid to look outrageous and to be, shocking. Okay, that commercial worked to the point that everybody thinks that woman is just like that in everyday life. So when people went on Twitter and started talking about it, well, she's an actress, so she didn't really do anything.
Okay.
But if she would have been Jewish and that had anything to do about with the Holocaust, Twitter would have took it off. Mm-hmm. So remember, whoever owns Twitter, whoever owns the entity, is the one that controls what and what cannot be said.
Great point.
Another example of power.
Yes.
Now, we have an election. I mean, there's a convention going on in Cleveland, whereas if you look at this convention, it is nowhere near a true reflection of what's going on in the United States.
Okay.
Meaning, if you look at all the people that voted 8 years ago, if you look at all the people that voted 4 years ago, you don't see none of those people in there.
Okay.
But they want the impression that the people that's in Cleveland is going to pick the next leader or chief of office.
Okay.
But how can he be the next leader if everybody in the country don't support him? So unless they rig the election like they did 12 years ago, all this is just for show. That's my... Because the thing is, when it comes down to the Republican Party, it comes down to the way the last 8 years, as much negativity as you heard them say about the Democrats or about Obama, everything that he tried to do, they hated on. But if you look at the atypical American, we have less than 4%, 7% unemployment. Gas has stayed under $3 for the last 2 years. If I'm not mistaken, there's people that got money in their bank account.
Right.
So, what's wrong with the direction that we're going in?
Yeah.
But if you listen to false prophets, then you lose the actual power that this country has gone in the last few years. Now, thank you for the time.
Sure. We always appreciate the conversation.
Okay. And you have a great show. I love your format, dear.
Thank you, Amal. And we love your conversation. Thank you. Have a great day. Thank you. So other callers, I'm going to get to you all, but he makes a great point. So when we look at what has been happening, and I say this all the time, I just want us to understand what is happening around us. It's like the Matrix. Either you're going to live in your truth or you're not. It's the red or the green pill. It doesn't mean that you place blame on individuals. You need to best understand it so you can maneuver. That's what this whole thing is about. That's what life is. It's like a monopoly board. You have to move. It's like chess. You have to know where to go, which angle, who to make alliances with. That's what this whole thing is about. And don't go anywhere. I just want to put this out here as well. There was a post on Facebook, and I lifted it, and I want, of course, acknowledge where I get information from. And I want you all to think about this. So an individual states, I know the focus today is on Melania, but something just occurred to me while I was watching her speech in its entirety for the first time. Could you imagine for a minute if President Obama possessed the background of Donald Trump? Trump has multiple baby mamas, 3, 2 divorces, well-publicized affairs, and a child born out of wedlock. Therefore, he fits many of the stereotypes that permeate popular discourse about black men. However, unlike black men, he's immune to the consequences of these characterizations and not held to the standards to which President Obama, who is a husband of 1 wife with whom he has 2 daughters, is held. Those same conservative family values are supporting Trump, which have lynched President Obama's character. I wanted to put that out there. And we always go back to the history of people. We want to go back, there was so much time, and it was actually even Donald Trump who put positioning up opposition, alleged opposition, against our own president now, Barack Hussein Obama, and that he wasn't even a citizen of these United States. You remember those conversations? But it's true. No one has brought up his background. No one has brought up the reality of his life. And non-judgmental, but that is his truth. And so does that have an impact on how he governs? Because we are a moral society, right? There's supposed to be a separation between church and state, but we know that it's not. Or does the power base use it to implement what they want? Just had to put it out there, wanted you to think about it. I'm going to go to the calls. Thanks so much for your patience. You're part of the conversation. Great morning to you.
Good morning, Queen.
Good morning, King.
Some spiritual notes.
Okay.
Black Lives Matter. Abraham, 15th chapter, 13, 14, 15 verse. Abraham, nor should he die, he would be a stranger in a strange land, be afflicted over 400 years, and serve a people. After 400 years, God speaking, I will come. I will judge that nation, and I will bring you out with great substances.
Okay.
Deuteronomy 18:18. Moses.
Okay.
I will raise up one unlike in you, Moses. I will put my words in his mouth. Referring to, understand, future tense.
Right.
If you go and do any kind of research on Egyptian study, you'll find that there's no history of no Moses in Egypt serving no Jews. It never happened. The work that Moses done, or Musa, it was done in Europe.
Okay.
And it was bringing the Caucasian, civilized the Caucasians who were banished in the caves of Europe close to 2,000 years.
Okay.
Christopher Columbus brought them out, who was a half original man. Also, America.
Okay.
You have these individuals, understand, who are opposing Black Lives Matter.
Mm-hmm.
Goes back, understand, to those who wanted to be close to Pharaoh, nearness to Pharaoh.
Okay.
And so, when you talk about Black Lives Matter, you have to ask the question, to who? It matters to the Supreme Being, who's present, who is the Black God, and who has, understand, for 66 trillion years, that secret had been kept hidden amongst the 24 major and minor scientists.
Okay.
And he came to America, to the city of Detroit, and he raised up the Moses and the Aaron, which is, the Moses is the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, or man who only went to the fourth grade, who had an impediment in speech.
Yes.
You also have Minister Farrakhan, who's very elegant, who fulfills the role of Aaron.
Okay.
A man that was able to speak very well.
Mm-hmm.
And so they are opposing Moses and Aaron, the modern day Moses and Aaron, which is present today.
Okay.
And we as a people, we've been so destroyed that we don't really know who we are, who God is, who the devil is.
Okay.
And we have to be born again.
Okay.
And born don't mean going back into your mother, but it means that it means the mind that white folks have given birth to us today, we must allow it to die and come into a new mind in order to understand what God is bringing about. And so, sister, keep watching the weather.
Right.
Keep watching what's going on all over the planet, sister.
Right.
And all are going to be able to look at the signs and bear witness that God is present in the world. And Black lives matter to the God that's present, sister. Believe me.
Great point. Absolutely.
Let's keep living.
Absolutely. I agree.
Have a blessed day, Queen.
You have
Love
a better one. Love you too. Thank you so much. I mean, he makes a great point. It's true. You know, our perceptions of the world are based on who we are and our beliefs. And so, of course, what would matter to me might not matter to you, might not matter to most. And so maybe does that help us in our understanding of what has been happening across this world, because it's based on what matters to you. And so we've been led to believe that everyone should matter, everyone should have a value. But maybe we're just not astute enough to understand the value from whence they've come. So for Black individuals who were descendants of slaves or Africans who were brought over for slavery, that value was the work to create the foundation of these Americas as free labor. Maybe that was your value, period. And so, of course, when the Constitution was established, it didn't acknowledge who we are, our contribution of just being human. And so that throughout the years sets a conversation and a tone for how others view us. And then, of course, it appears that we have adopted that same position for ourselves. So when we ask them to make Black Lives Matter, do you believe it's falling on deaf ears? Should that even be the conversation that we're having? In 2016, we have to state vehemently that Black Lives Matter and protest. And now, so much so that individuals have taken upon themselves to strike out, to turn to snipers, to turn to bombers, to get their positions across, martyrs for their causes. But maybe the other conversation is that there's a disconnect because we attach a moral component to a life that perhaps is void of it. I was thinking the other day in how we were raised to honor God, that we are God in us. Father, Son, Holy Spirit, God is in us. The essence of who we breathe and how we live is God. And so that is how I was raised. But I can't assume that everyone was raised to have a relationship with God, to know God. And so do you think about that? Because a lot of times who we are, we believe everyone to be the same way. And so maybe that's the bigger issue that we have, or the challenge that we have, is because we have to be realistic and say, no. Some people can do things because they're void of that component. And then, of course, if there's an influx of power, influence, the ability to control or determine the outcome for someone, then if you're not raised with a fiber that says, I'm going to be accountable, I'm going to honor your life, then whatever I do to you is fair game. I want us to think about that. I appreciate the conversations because you all make me think. That's what this is about. And what do we always say? Think and grow rich. Think. Rich in thought, rich in purpose, rich in action and deed. I'm going to go to the call. Thanks so much for your patience. You're a part of the conversation. Great morning to you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, the last gentleman struck a nerve. I hope I sound like I'm smiling now. I had a neighbor that moved in. She's been there almost 20 years.
Okay.
And her opinion of me, I know after 20 years is just horrible. But when he said what you like or what you think, it should be the same as what I think. And that's like, I'm looking at it and I'm smiling. That's just not true.
Okay.
And then she moved in her son, who's a policeman, and he has an authoritative attitude. I know by looking at what he does for a living. Mm-hmm. He goes out and he is sent out by, he's supposed to be a public servant.
Right.
But, and I don't go with him day to day, but he writes tickets. So he says, well, how come you don't cut your grass? Oh. Well, I don't have as much money as you do to have someone cut your grass all the time.
Okay.
I got to work.
Okay.
I'm retired now.
Okay.
No, I just refuse to do it. Okay. I say I'm growing weeds.
Okay. Right. That's your new yard. Right.
That's
right.
My new yard.
Sure.
And I think that's funny. It's funny to me because he says they would like to employ people, say in the municipal range, to say, well, your property looks like blight.
Okay.
Wait a minute. My property's paid for. I pay the taxes.
Okay.
I pay the water bill.
Okay.
I am in control of me.
Okay.
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 And I look at other people that are struggling, and I say, you know what, your problem, now I don't want to analyze their problem, but I say, you have a problem that you're not in control. You are not in control of you. The decisions you make going forward, and where do those decisions come from? They come from your background, your history.
Yes.
Okay, how you were raised.
Yes.
Whether or not you want to have multiple wives or multiple children, And I'm not mad at you if you want to do, because I'm not going to be the judge of you. You're going to be judged. Okay. That's what I believe. Okay. And if you're not judged, I'm in control of me, and that doesn't affect me.
Okay.
Okay, and I'm not selfish enough. I hope I'm not just talking just about me, selfish enough, but I look at this, what we put into government, or people that we allow to have power. You talked about power.
Yes.
And how they use power.
Yes.
And what I'm seeing is that you don't have public servants. When we have a mayor, public servants, a servant to serve the public.
Right.
We give you this power. Okay, and when you take that attitude, it's a rude awakening when you have to lose this power.
Yes.
And that's what you're seeing. People are fighting that in the conventions that make America great because, they're about to lose power. Mm-hmm.
Great point. Absolutely. Absolutely.
I just had to set that out.
No, that's great. Appreciate it. Love it. Love it. Thank you so much for calling. You know what, everyone? He put it out there. That's what I believe. So there's a fear that happens when the perception of power, the loss of power, is coming. And you can see it. People believe that even just in numbers, if you're seeing more black and brown and tan individuals, that just by mere population, it will be more than Caucasians. And so the idea is, oh, if it's more of you, then you all potentially could do something to us. And don't you think that that's really interesting? Is that there could be more. When we talk about even in slavery times, there was more of us on a plantation than it was in the quote unquote ownership, but we never fought. We never killed them. All of our entities, and I think I've discussed it before, always focus on nonviolence, and everything that they perpetuate in the form of a movement is violent. The KKK, the neo-Nazi, all these positions are promote violence versus everything that we position is, oh, okay, get along, equal rights. So yeah, so if we're caught up with power, the perception of power, what does that look like? And maybe the bigger conversation is the bait and switch. You think about that. So maybe media power is showing all the emphasis on a national platform that gets you to take away from the local platforms. I challenge you to pay attention to your local government. Do you realize that the local person that you elect and select is who sets the legislative policy in DC? It's not a dictatorship. You might think that it is, but it's not a dictatorship. But if you don't exercise your vote in your local communities to be able to identify that right candidate, and that's for everything. That's for who's going to be your congressional person, who's going to be your judge, circuit judges, who's going to be your mayors, who's going to be your state representatives, who's going to be your city treasurers, who's going to be in every aspect of your life. As the caller said, if you have the power to use your voice through your vote, you need to pay attention. So I tell everyone, absolutely, you have one vote that who's going to be the head of the United States as a body, as a person, as a representative of the United States of America. That's one vote for that one person. But that one person does not change everything that happens in your day-to-day life. Remember, because they have to go through a process if you understand political policy. It's a process. It's not a dictatorship. Donald Trump stands up and says, oh, I'm going to build a wall. You can't just build a wall just because you say so. It doesn't work that way. Now, it will work that way if we don't use our voice to, if you don't agree with that, to counter and support your local candidates who then will go to Congress to exercise your voice. People talk about so much that President Obama has not done for the people. And I'm not just going to say black people because we get caught up in that because it's about class. So lower economic status individuals, middle economic status individuals, that he hasn't done enough. But when the Democrats don't control the votes, how can legislation pass through? That happens in any state. For Michigan, everyone knows that the Flint water crisis is still not ratified. It's not still remedied. In the midst of all these other conversations, Flint still is without water. All the other issues that we have, straight party voting, which passed because we have a Republican-based legislation that is pushing laws through because they're the majority. I need you all to understand what we're dealing with, right? It's about your voice as your vote. Going to go to the call. Thanks so much for your patience. You're part of the conversation. Great morning to you.
Good morning. Wonderful show. Wonderful show.
Thank you.
I was watching last night on Bill Maher. He came on after the convention on HBO. And he had the ghostwriter for the book, Donald Trump's book, The Art of the Deal.
Yes.
And he said that Donald Trump is a sociopath. He kept on repeating it, the fact that this man is a sociopath.
Okay.
They're trying to make him into the blue-collar billionaire.
Yes.
I've never heard of a blue collar.
The blue collar, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. We need to look at that. The blue collar billionaire. Well, okay, well, I want you to finish your thought, and then we're going to talk about it.
No, I like his reacting. But also, the children and the wife, They had them all in white last night.
Mm-hmm.
They say take America back.
Mm-hmm.
Back to where? Okay, when there were lords and ladies and we used to have to bow down.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, when there were class systems.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
it didn't matter what race you were because it's scary. Newt Gingrich was up there last night talking about Black Lives Matter.
Yes.
In code words.
Yes.
Okay, they want to make it illegal to say anything bad about police officers the way it is if you say something bad about the president.
Right.
Okay, that means he's talking about Black Lives Matter.
Right.
And Michael Moore said that the gentleman could win, that Trump could win.
Yes.
And don't sit back and get it twisted because this man can win.
Yes.
And like I said, and lastly, your opinion, Roger Ailes left Fox News.
Yes.
Can I get your opinion on that, please?
Sure. We can talk about it. First, let me go back a little bit. So appreciate your phone call. I want to set the tone. You talked about the perception. I don't think it was maybe I'm reading too much into it, non-design that the family was up in all white. First of all, let me just talk about that. The purity, you know what white means. White symbolizes purity. Purity.
They're all blonde hair.
I mean, you're absolutely right. It's image. It's what we buy into. So even before you looked at the whole family, remember when Trump walked in, he had all the lights in the background. And it was just like the stardom that comes out. And he even talked about the chairs that he and his vice president candidate Pence sat in. They were throne-like. And then you see them in the regalness of this white purity. Do we not think that there is a perception that is what they are portraying into America and that it's aspirational yet again? I believe that everyone, and I'd love to have someone call in who actually supports Trump. Not a problem. This is America. You can support who you want to support. I just want to know why. So do you believe that because he has been successful as a businessman, and just be very clear, he's even stated that throughout his bankruptcies, that's what elite individuals do. You use other people's money. When the investment is problematic and you are taking a loss, then you file bankruptcy. And that is okay. Do you believe that who he has been is going to make you successful the same way?
If you file bankruptcy, you can't, and you are at our income level.
Right.
You can't buy a vehicle. You can't buy a house. Okay, I've never done it, but I'm just saying we're at a different level. It's crazy to think you can get up there with him. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, but you're right. I mean, think about it, because I appreciate it, and all of the callers and listeners, think about the conversation that we're having. You have to look at what's going on around you and what we feed into our psyche. Because if you're not talking about it, you believe that, yes, I can be that too. And if that's what you want, not a problem. If people, that falls into really quickly, the Black Republicans are having conversations. There were some questions about, and this was an article in the New York Times, everyone, and I can, of course, give that reference to you if you need it, and it's posted on my Facebook page. But the position was that, okay, it was a sea of too many white individuals at the convention, and it really created a moral conversation as a slap on the wrist for who America is and who America should be, and not necessarily addressing the issues or the inclusion of Black America. That's not
18 delegates out of over 2,400 delegates. 18.
Say it.
18 delegates, okay?
18.
And they're getting up there on the stage, and I'm like, oh my God, I got to turn this off TV.
No, because it goes to what you just said, and we need to understand that. If we don't have, because it's true, the individuals who are interviewing the folk who are part of quote unquote mainstream media, they're not having these kind of conversations. Everyone sweeps everything up under the rug. So whether it was problematic, okay, that Donald Trump's wives are immigrants, that's not, I mean, do we realize the issue with that?
The gentleman speaking before her was talking about getting rid of immigrants, and then here she comes up here with this strong accent. I'm like, wait a minute, isn't she an immigrant?
She is, everyone. His first wife was as well. And so these are women who were good enough and came over to America and reaped the benefits of America and were successful, and that he deemed loving enough to marry, to live in America. So that's not good. So now we have a class system in immigrants. So, I mean, what? If you're from Yugoslavia or the Ukraine, then you're better if you come from Mexico? But we're not having that conversation?
Remember, it used to be Ireland, if you came from Ireland?
Great point. But remember, that fits into the conversation of the power class. So whoever it is that you have a problem with, if I have a platform of a microphone and a camera, I can talk about what I want to talk about because you're going to buy into what I talk about, which is bad. Do you get it? That's why black folk have been bad. That's why it's Black Friday. It's black. Every time that there's a loss in something, it's black. It's not good. Villains wear black. Masked men are in black. Do you
we
think
learned that in high school?
Right.
Teacher
right
taught us that in high school. The blind always was the they get that in Germany. This reminds me of the lead up to World War II.
Come on.
To watch those people sitting there brainwashed, brainwashed basically, put her in prison, take her to jail. This is how they started with the Jews. This is how they started with the Jews.
Hitler.
Have you seen the movie The Pianist? And I'll let someone else.
No. You know what? I
Pianist?
have not, and I need to.
Please.
That's what I'll do.
Please.
I'll get it, and then I can bring it back up so we can have a conversation. But I did say in a show probably a couple months ago that, they gave a new edition of Mein Kampf that came out, and in the first week, they were all sold out. So if the first week that Mein Kampf, so Hitler's whole story, came out and was sold out.
Okay.
I
can believe that. From watching this convention, I can believe that. It's like people are becoming brainwashed, and it's seeping out into the millions of people that are watching.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
This is going beyond, this is when they say it's a movement.
Yeah.
Over in Germany, it was a movement.
Yes.
And you have a blessed day, and I love
you
show.
too. Love your show. Love your feedback. Everyone,
Bye-bye.
that's what it's about. That you can call in and we can have the conversation. That's what to think through things. I know there were several other points that you had, and I wasn't able to get to them, but I appreciate them. I'm going to bring them back, and I got 2 other callers, so I'm going to take you all. Thank you so much for your patience. Loving our conversation this morning. Great morning to you.
Good morning, fellow Patriots.
Oh, Patriot, great morning to you.
You mentioned something earlier in the conversation about local. All politics are local.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. The only national leader that we do vote for is the president.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody else is a local politician.
Yes.
So, when you say power, Rupert Murdoch has to step down from Fox News. He has been a terror in the I guess liberal world.
Yes.
Because of his stance and his position.
Yes.
Against liberalism.
Sure.
And he had to step down, and he was forced to step down by a few people, a few ladies.
Yes.
So power is a perception that people, I guess, they magnify to the point of the boogeyman.
Right. Great point.
People always have the power when they stand up and fight against something that's evil.
Right.
And the media. When you say mainstream, it's your perception of mainstream. I always figured that WHPR is mainstream to me because it reflects my viewpoint. Okay?
Right.
My mainstream.
Right.
We have to redirect the narratives of conversation about what's mainstream. It's mainstream for them.
Right.
It's not mainstream for us.
Great point. Great point.
So, to me, having Collette Ramsey on and putting her viewpoint out, which and you open up the door to other viewpoints. So that's, to me, mainstream, to hear what other people are saying.
Yes.
Not to have a selective comment and pretty much, I guess, broad brush it in
Right.
But I think that we can, as a people, come together and start thinking a little bit differently.
Mm-hmm.
Like we had a conversation a few weeks ago about instead of living in the past, let's move to the future. What does the future look like in the African American community, the Black community? What does the future look like?
Right.
That's up to us, how we put the future towards the future of our generations to come.
Yes.
That's on us.
Yes.
Not on anybody else.
Yes.
It's on us.
It's on us.
And when they keep talking about Black Lives Matter, of course they're going to do that because that's what they do. They're great at the propagandizing what's going on in our community. And a lot of us just unfortunately happen to believe it.
Okay.
I myself, I like to, since I've been a black man all my life.
Right. That's all you know. Right. Right.
I look at the black people. I look at black news. I pick up the black newspaper. So
yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong by thinking that way, but that's how I think.
Right. No, we get it. And let me just thank you always, because you've always been that voice and the advocacy for local engagement. That's really where we have the impact in our local market. So I just thank you on behalf of all of us, because that has always been your drumbeat. And so thank you for all the efforts that you have and what you consistently do. So thank you, Patriot. I appreciate it. I'm going to get these other two callers before we have to wrap up, if that's okay.
That Thursday, August the 4th.
August the 4th, that's right.
August the 4th, we all need to see. Now, we need to show up. And that's what I'm talking about, power in the people.
Mm-hmm.
The people need to be on the front, in front of that courthouse on August 4th at 8:30 in Cincinnati.
Okay.
So they need to be there. See, that shows power.
It does.
The courtroom.
It does.
We do not want the emergency manager again.
All right.
Okay.
Appreciate you always. Have an amazing day. All right, callers, we're going to get you all in before we have to wrap up. Thanks for your patience. Great morning to you.
Good morning.
Hi.
I have a question that what can we do to make them being the invaders and the enslavers feel great and safe without oppressing everybody, killing everybody? And I like to put that out there and like to, get some ideas of how to help them feel great and safe.
Wow. You know what? I think that needs to be the topic of conversation for next week's show. How to make, so let me just be very clear about your question. You're asking us to think through how we can make the masses feel great and safe as people of color.
Without killing us.
Wow. Oh, there's so many things in that conversation. You know what? This is your first call, isn't it? Your first time calling in?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much, because your voice is new to me, so thank you so much. If you allow me, I want that to be the topic for next week's show. Is that okay? Okay, got it. So next week, everyone, get ready. Next Thursday when you tune in, that is what we're going to talk about. I'm going to dissect what he has just presented on the table as how do we, as people of color, make America feel safe. The powers that be feel safe, so that then they don't turn the police officer examples to assassinate us. That's correct, sir? Okay, I guess that's what he meant. Man, you just get ready for that one, because I'm thinking, love that we have to make them feel safe. But isn't that historically what we've done? We've taken care of the families. We've taken care of the children. We've taught the children. We've protected the structures. That's where Big Mama came in on the plantation. After that, we took care of the houses. We breastfed the children. That's going to be it for next week. Thank you. I always wonder what I'm going to talk about. Then we're going to wrap it into some other things. Callers, I see you. My time is up. This is incredible. We have the best conversations. I'm so sorry. All the lines are lit. Oh, if you all call in first thing next week, I'm going to get to you, I promise. But I'm always considerate of the show after mine and just your time as always. Such a pleasure to be with you today, having great conversation about who we are, the moral fiber of America, what power looks like for us, the perception of power, the abuse of power, the lack of power. And we'll continue to have those conversations. And I want you to continue to think about what we've discussed this morning as you continue in your day and throughout the rest of your week and into your weekend, because you do have control over your life. You have the ability to effectuate positive change for yourself. That's what this thing is about. That's that personal control and power that you have. And when you can control you, as the one caller said, I can control me. And that's whether if I want my grass to look like weeds or not, whatever it looks like, know you, control you. And then with that same energy, that is what you present out into the universe. It can really be that simple. But our charge, as we've always heard and talked about on this show, and another caller said it, it's to you. You have to be accountable for you. Once you know you, then other people can know you because it's what you present. So I appreciate your time as always, just the consideration of the conversation this morning. It's been us. Look forward to next Thursday from 7 to 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Coffee and Conversation with Collette. You make sure you can follow me on Facebook and we can continue the conversation. Have an amazing rest of the day, an amazing week. Until next time.